Let's get started. I was watching the news today, yesterday, every day, and something that has drawn my attention because of the redundancy. News seems to go in themes. People, media gets on one thing and they beat it to death naturally, over and over and over again. And what this latest gig is false news, fake news. Everybody has their take on it. And of course, I'm going to share my take on it with you. And it's much simpler to understand. I'm going to put it in layman's terms for you. Fake news translation, bullshit. Can you dig it? That's what it is. And why is it bullshit? Because in today's day and age, in today's media, you don't have to have any accountability to anything, about anything. You say, you print, you do nothing. And what media hides behind is the amendment, the right of free speech and what have you. And of course, that's part of the bullshit. Yes, we do have a right to free speech, and I can dig it. But that doesn't mean that doesn't come with responsibility, and you can be a complete moron. Because as far as the media is concerned, when you do things like that and have no accountability, people can get hurt. With mass media, it can change situations. One of them was that, don't shoot hands up gig last year, whenever that took place, which turned out to be a complete falsification of what really transpired in that particular situation. I think we all know what that is. And when it went to court, all the witnesses have said, no, he never raised his hands and said, don't shoot. And, that pissed a lot of people off when it happened, as far as the so-called, at the time, victim was concerned. And it made a lot of people mad. Now, here's the repercussions that have happened from that and still could be happening today, is unfortunately some of our law enforcement, well, for sure some of our law enforcement officers and stuff, have been attacked, brutalized over just that. Because, they think oh, look, they use excessive force, and the whole thing was bullshit from the beginning. That's where you have to be held accountable. And you know why there's no accountability? Going back to what I was saying, because there's no repercussions that are suffered from people that do this. And that's the shame. So who judges this? Who says if a story is right or wrong? Well, here's the thing with media. Trump's been saying it for a long time. Look at the corrupt media back there, and he's been so right. And all it did is piss these retards off more. Oh, I'm sorry, politically incorrect again. These mentally challenged, liberal, Democrat, twisted, give you the wrong story, put a spin on the story media. Trump, like I said, has been saying it for a long time, and it's so true. First, people laughed at him, when he'd point to them and say, look at them behind the cameras. How true is it now? Well, it should have turned out to be true. Now, I have a couple ideas with this. One of them is I could give two craps if Trump never used the media, because they're, for the most part, dishonest. The far left, anyhow. They put spin on things. They don't give you the right story. You can't even get the right information. You can't even be assured of getting correct information, and that's a shame. And they're pissed like, we should have access to the White House. And I say, why? So I, as an American, and you could get news secondhand, how they decide to give it to us after they decipher what he said, say Trump, for example, in the White House, and put a spin on it and give us the wrong information? That is the biggest crock I think I've ever heard. So what's the big deal? The fact of the matter is, the media has no credibility. They've proved over time that they have no credibility. So why should Trump use them at all? It's no law. That's a fact. And you don't have to say that's false news. I'm telling you that there's no law that you have to use the media. It's just been adopted. That's how it's been over the years. That there's been, accessible media to the president, to the White House, and all that. I hope he doesn't use them at all. Nothing. Nothing. And you know why? That would really piss them off, but they couldn't do anything about it. You had your time, and you had your chance. And you lie, and we don't need you. So here's the deal. Now you would say, well, wow, how would we get the news? How would we get the information? Just like Trump's been reaching everybody now. And I'm not saying, maybe Twitter or Facebook. I'm saying maybe he comes on once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. He has some accessible media that he feels he can trust, or his press secretary, to put out his message. And then maybe he comes on every couple, 3 weeks, a month, and says, hey, my fellow Americans, President Trump here, I'm going to give you what's been going on, what I'm doing, what we're thinking about, what you asked for, what we've accomplished, what we're working on. Wouldn't that be nice? Just to keep us informed. And dig this. Now you might go, wow, okay, that'd be cool. That's an idea. Because no other president really gave us that much accessibility, right? We just always had the crappy press that we didn't even know if the stories were true or not, or what spin was on it, as I had said earlier. But dig this. So we get that 3-week, 1-month report from say Trump. You know what the beauty of that is, as I had just started to say? The only person that you have to hold accountable then is the president himself. There's only one person. Doesn't that seem much easier? And then we know if he's a jerk. We know if he's BSing us. We know if we don't like it. We know if, we're pretty smart. We can tell. Doesn't that make sense? One person. Just one. Oh, would that be easy? And then the press, they can, the liberal far left lion spinning media, they could go report on who makes the best pizza in New York, Chicago, or whatever. Something ridiculous. That was one of the points I wanted to touch on. One of the other things I heard was Hillary. Hillary. Hillary, do me a favor. You know that old saying, don't go away, mad, just go away? Can you just go away? Who is this lady? I mean, you're out, right? I mean, you don't hold any position or what have you. Who cares what you think or say now? Who cared when you were had a position? Because all you did is lie then anyhow. But, I see her on TV. She's like, well, the false news and the fake news. Wow, that's just great. Isn't that hypocritical? Who was the biggest offender of that exactly? I can't remember what clip it was with Hillary got off of a plane and she's going, oh my God, we were ducking, the bullets were flying over our heads, we just didn't know what to do. It's been all over the news, over the last year. I really don't remember what it was. I'm not going to apologize, and I ain't looking it up, but you can look it up, and I guarantee you it'll be true that she said, oh, the bullets were flying over our heads and we were ducking, and then they show the clip and she's off the plane laughing and kibitzing and stuff, and it was nothing of the sort. Total bullshit. A bigger example would be Benghazi. Hillary. Oh, it wasn't. From what I understand, it was a video, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a video. Another example is the 500 billion, whatever it is. I'm exaggerating naturally, but it's a lot. 33,000, whatever emails. Oh, yes, they were. I was talking to my daughter about yoga and how to bake a cake and various things like that. You know how much bullshit that was? And we know that. So what an abuser of falsification of information. And it's the correlation is that I'm making is that's false news. Right? It's falsification of information. False news. And it came directly from Hillary. And she's on the TV yesterday, the day before, saying, we have to really watch this and have people be held accountable. Why would people even think about not bullshitting and be held accountable when Mrs. Up the ladder hierarchy Hillary Clinton is a big advocate of the falsification of news and lying herself and suffering absolutely zero repercussions from doing it? So why would they think, oh, we should really worry about this? It's not true, or we can put a spin on it. Who cares? Because they don't have to be held accountable. Does everybody understand that? Have I given you some good examples? Now, see, here's the difference, too. This is an opinion of mine, but I'm not making anything up, and I haven't told you anything that really hasn't happened, have I? Now, anything I've said, you could look up and you could see it's true. The things Hillary has said and done, the things the media has said and done, the things Trump has said and done. You will see that it is all true, and then you can make your own judgment. See, that's how it works. Okay. So, for all these people who are barking up the false news tree, you're morons. You are. Because, the problem isn't the false news. The problem is the accountability that has to go along with it. The repercussions that have to be suffered from giving the wrong news, where people can get hurt and situations can go bad. That's what it's all about, isn't it? And the biggest problem is, like I said with Hillary, the examples. The people who are supposedly being in positions where you would think that they would be honest and be held accountable for what they say. But they're not. So dig this along with this. You wonder why Hillary lost the election? Are you serious? You wonder why the media, who was so corrupt and tried to, during this particular election, tried to put their own narrative in and made up crap and lied and twisted? You wonder why Trump exposed these morons? And again, lastly, but I mentioned it a couple seconds ago, that they lost the election? Wow. I'll say it again. Good always prevails over evil in the long run. The cream always rises to the top. The right thing has a way of worming around and making its way past the wrong thing. The good people who stand for something and are honest have a way of rising above the bullshitters who give us on a daily basis the false news. So I guess there's only one thing to do, which I mentioned earlier also, maybe in Trump's position. Don't use the morons. Number one, they don't deserve it. Number two, if you gave them even like, hey, I'll give you a second chance, they're going to do the same thing anyhow, because news isn't about news. News people, for the most part, aren't, they're not saying, oh my God, we have to get the news out to the people, it'll help the people, and we want to inform the people. It's not about that anymore. The world has changed. Unfortunately, there's more corruption, and it's who gets the story first, who will get to the story first, who will, well, let me get there and give the story, whether it's right or wrong. It came from Johnny Pagucci, and my name will be in highlights and whatever. Hey, so what if it's wrong? What's the worst thing that can happen? Big deal, right? Because there's no repercussions. So again, back to what I was saying, in the case of Trump, I hope he doesn't use the media. I really hope he doesn't use the media. It'll be a nice kick in the ass for them. And the fact of the matter is that'll be a way that I'm fine with him gloating about that, because all they did is tear him apart when he was trying to run. And all they did is lie about him, and all they did is give people, false narratives, or they gave people their, position on how things were. And it was twisted, and it was biased, and we all know that. So that's my take on the false news. That everybody's making such a big deal about it when it's just a real simple translation. And that is, translation. And that is, where's my TV screen here? Okay, that is this. Over here, we have false news. Over here, we have what it translates to. Bullshit. See? That's what it, what it translates to. That's what it always has been. False news. You know? So here's the thing. We've been such a big deal in the last couple of years about being political. Oh, that's not politically correct. Well, let me tell you something, you morons in the media that are corrupt. False news? That's not politically correct. Bullshit is politically correct. Remember that. And I hope I don't have to hear anything from you. How's that? Because if I do, I'm sure it'll be bullshit.